Canaries chasing yellow and green through every ground in the championship scene. Bags, packs, scarves, high stories to share. Wherever the Canaries play, we'll be there. On the road, city, we're singing loud and proud. From the river to the terraces, we'll follow through the crowd. On the road, city, from Dublin to the Shire, we'll find the pubs, the songs, the heart and light, the Canary fire. Fans in the stands tell us where to go, for a pint, for a bite, for the best pre-match glow. What's the town like? Where should we stay? What's the roar of your home crowd like?
Well, Nick, good to see you again. I think we got away with a lucky point there on Saturday at Stoke.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been the story of our away games, to be honest. Starting well, first 25 minutes, we were probably under the cosh a little bit, scored against the run of play, and I don't know what the team have at half time, but it certainly sends them to sleep, and they come out, completely switched off. Early goal to concede, and then 45 minutes of pressure. So, yeah, same as Coventry. Good to get away with a point, I think. And to be fair, I'd probably taken it before the kick-off, but the way it came about was probably disappointing, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. One of the nice things, I think, from me personally at the game was obviously my good friend through football, Josh, sadly passed away there recently, leaving his poor wife Sharon, young daughter Sophia behind. And the lads, him and Sean and Sam, as you saw, brought a special jersey for Josh and bought him a ticket for the game. And it was nice to recognise him that way. And I'd like to dedicate this episode to him this week, Josh and his family. But one of the things that was quite poignant for me was that obviously the lads put up pictures on the Away Days fan football channel, and there was a lot of sympathy messages. Obviously, you'd expect it from Norwich fans, a lot of other clubs, but one of the things that really impressed me was the amount of Ipswich fans that threw their weight behind it. And it shows, despite all the rivalry we have with our neighbours down the road, that there's some bigger things than football. And I see also that this week some of the Ipswich fans are looking for a minute's applause, I think in the 48th minute, for an Ipswich fan who passed away recently. So I'm sure, despite the rivalry on Sunday, some of the Irish fans will lend support to that as well, to show that there are bigger things than football. But this week, it's obviously a big week for us, for both teams, as the two sides of East Anglia, one being the Pride, the other being not so sure, come together. And we're delighted to be joined by two tractor boys tonight. George and Adam, you're very welcome to On the Road City for this week's episode, and thanks for joining us. We normally do look at all the things that visiting Norwich fans, and indeed any football fan, can do visiting a new town or city. Ipswich is probably a little different, so we'll get into that a little bit, but I'd love you to introduce yourselves first and tell us how you came about being, I'm sure, passionate Ipswich supporters.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. So my name is George. So I'm born and bred in God's County of Suffolk, and led to be an Ipswich Town fan by my late father. So that's pretty much the most basic story that you're going to get, and that's how most of us end up finding our calling for our team. But I don't know if you're any different, Adam. Are you?
Yeah, so Ipswich has been in my family for 4 generations at least. My great-grandfather was a fan, and then my grandfather was a fan. My dad was a fan, and then I liked to tease him when I was growing up by saying I was going to become a Norwich fan, but I didn't. In the end, I picked of Anglia and have been a Town fan since then.
Very good. I think offline, Adam, you told us you were based in London yourself. Maybe you could tell us what your typical match day ritual is. We talk about the Derby days separately, but just typically, what's your match day ritual like?
Yeah, so family home is still in Essex, so usually I'll travel down on a Friday night rather than on a Saturday, or in this case on a Sunday. I'll probably still go back on the Friday night. It means that my family get to see me for a little bit of time, which being in London isn't always that easy. So I'll do that and then hop into the car and kind of drive down and park along the marina, walk up from there. I like to get there fairly early, and then sometimes, so actually for this one, my brother and my dad are both coming. So we'll hang around, probably get a drink before the game as well, and just kind of soak up the atmosphere.
What about you, George? What's your ritual like on a match day?
I think that usually depends whether I'm going to be having a few beers or not, to be honest with you, which last season, with the amount of batterings we took, I think I had to, self-medicate somewhat for a lot of those games. Very, very, very usually walk or grab an Uber into town about 12 and, have a few beers and then wander off to the game. I mean, I'm probably a half an hour walk from the stadium, so it's all pretty local for me. So I don't have too many far-flung journeys for a home match, certainly.
Feel free to set off at 12 on Sunday for the game, George. You'll probably
this is the debate. Actually, it's sort of it's keep an eye on the social media channels for all the various pubs and maybe calling a couple up to see what time they are opening. And I remember the anguish in the group chat that one of our regular haunts said they're not opening until 10 o'clock. I mean, how are you going to cope without not having a pint before 10 o'clock on a match day? I mean, it's just disgraceful, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll probably segue straight into that then. Something we probably normally cover traditionally in these podcasts a little bit later. But obviously there is only normally one pub for Norwich fans at a derby game, which is obviously the one straight outside the train station. I've heard a whisper that might not even be opening on Sunday. I'd be amazed if it doesn't. But I think that's probably the one and only watering hole for Norwich fans coming to the derby on Sunday. So assuming it's open, I guess, to the best of your knowledge, that's going to be where the away fans are on Sunday.
I've not. I'll jump in, Adam, just because I'm more local than you at the moment, I suppose, aren't I? I've not heard anything different about that not being open. I think even Ipswich fans would have heard about that, because then the possibility that loads of Norwich fans might try and drink in the town centre would probably get the spidey senses tingling amongst a lot of Ipswich fans, to be honest with you. So yeah, no, I've not heard that. I think in terms of an away day, forget the Ipswich Norwich rivalry. I think it's a bit of a dreamy away day, really. Like, you've got the train station, you've got the pub bang opposite the train station, and then literally a 5-minute walk further on, you're in the away end. So it's pretty ideal, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and then there's normally a car crash of a policing operation at the end, isn't there? Well, they segregate you really, really well until you get to the first crossroads, and then everybody just comes together, right? And they wonder why.
A little bottleneck, and then it's like, they just don't care anymore, do they? As soon as you get to a certain point, and then it's a shambles. Both sides.
A good friend of mine is working on the policing operation on Sunday, so I look forward to giving him plenty of stick over the policing operation. And I know he listens to this podcast because he told me that he did it in Stoke on Saturday. So I look forward to giving him a good ribbon on the weekend. Adam, just talk us through, if you can, and I fear where this is going to go already, but just talk us through, if you can, some of your best memories watching Ipswich Town.
We're probably going to avoid the Norwich games in this throwback. So my first ever game was at Portman Road when we drew 1-1 with Manchester United. Fabian Wilness scored the opener, and then David Beckham, that bloke, don't know if you've heard of him, bent in a free kick to score the equaliser. That was an early one. Then the UEFA Cup, Alan Armstrong heading in to give us a 1-0 win against Inter Milan. That was a good one. And then in more recent times, there's been plenty in the back-to-back promotion seasons. I don't know if you know, we were in the Premier League last year. That was
just the experience Norwich have going up and getting hammered.
Yeah, that was good fun. The 10 minutes we were 1-0 up against Man City was enjoyable before they then stuck 4 past us. The win at Tottenham, and then the 2 promotion days were unbelievable. The Exeter win and Huddersfield, yes.
All right, yourself, George.
Right. What were your memories, James?
Yeah, very similar. I think me and Adam, must be sitting about the same age, to be honest with you, because it's a very similar path. I mean, actually, in recent years, the last sort of like prior to the American takeover 4 years ago, the previous 10 or 15 years before that, with the underfunding of Marcus Evans, and there's been very little to enjoy. I mean, we had one good season in that, and that resulted in getting dumped out of playoffs by you lot. So, that wasn't really that enjoyable. But yeah, so most of my best memories are really sort of in the 2000s. Playoff win in 2000. You know, the early Premier League and European exploits were some really fun times. And then under Joe Royle, sort of around about 2005, we had some, ultimately ending in defeat in the playoffs, because that's obviously what we like to do. We had some great runs then, and some great games. And obviously, as Adam mentioned, last 3 or 4 years have been a bit of a whirlwind. Look, in truth, it's the same as a lot of us. I mean, I know your pod is ultimately a lot about the experience of going to games and away days and travelling, and ultimately that's what I've loved doing. Whether it was our 4 years sitting in League One with Paul Lambert and Paul Cook and finishing mid-table, but going to all these far-flung places with 3,000-4,000 capacities and having days out with friends, and that's kind of actually, in truth, I've got more good memories from that in the last 20 years than what I actually do on the pitch. So it's a common phrase, really. You go to football. You have a great day, just the football gets in the way sometimes.
I was talking to Cillian earlier as I was heading home from work. And we were talking about that gulf between the Championship and the Premier League, right? I know, Adam, you touched upon it there. You made reference to the fact that you might have got yourself promoted the season before last. But it's almost impossible, right? And we were having this discussion about actually what is the point of getting promoted out of the Championship into the Premier League? Ultimately, for clubs, I think it's the financial stability of the parachute payments, because there's not many clubs with grounds big enough or the attendance is big enough. Even if you've got a billionaire that comes in and buys you, the financial fair play seems to stop the smaller clubs spending money. It doesn't seem to stop the bigger clubs spending money. But, those days out, those days on the road, going to new Premier League grounds and seeing those grounds. I mean, some of them are soulless, to be fair, aren't they, with no atmosphere? And like you, I'd much rather the Championship atmospheres and the spirit. But other than the results, what was it like for you, travelling the length and breadth of the country last season, watching Ipswich in the Premier League?
Yeah, so the highlight was definitely seeing some of the new stadiums. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium's a phenomenal piece of architecture, and then going to Anfield for the first time, because when I was originally watching Ipswich Town in the Premier League, I was 5 years old and obviously didn't get to go to away games. My dad didn't fancy the trek, so yeah, it was a first for all of that. But yeah, and VAR, you didn't even touch on VAR and how that helped make it even more of a closed shop. There were some questionable decisions in certain games that seemed to go the way of big teams.
Surely not.
We have more in common than what divides us, Nick.
Yeah, I still remember Timo Pukki scoring a goal against Spurs or Arsenal at Carrow Road. He was never offside, disallowed. Any other day of the week, it would have been a goal, wouldn't it? So, yeah. What about yourself, George? That's a similar story, I guess.
Yeah, look, very, very similar story. It's just so sanitised, the Premier League, isn't it? It's I think, I like, you like the big atmosphere. You like the, you like the real genuine fans. There's so many cameras and, people with signs up wanting shirts and, and you know what as well, part of the experience of going, particularly to away game, is feeling that real passion from like all three stands when you're sat there in the corner, and it can be a bit intimidating, but I think that's all part of the experience. And, normally speaking, if we got a last minute winner away at a certain, I don't know, like Birmingham, we got a last minute equaliser, I felt a bit ropey leaving that stadium then, but like that's kind of all part of it. But then we got that win away at Tottenham and, a couple of players, it's like, it's just not, it doesn't feel like a genuine football experience to me. It's really hard to put your finger on, but ultimately I'd do anything to make sure we get back up there again, because if you're not in the Premier League or at least bouncing back between the two, then you kind of get left behind, don't you? It's so hard to compete. So
yeah, for sure.
Talking about, obviously, let's talk about the thorny subject of the match this weekend. What sort of, I'm sure there'll be some Norwich fans who've never been to Portman Road before who'll be travelling for the first time. What can they expect from an atmosphere perspective?
Yeah, well, in terms of the atmosphere, I think it'll be, I think it'll be a vibrant one. I'm not sure if there's going to be any coach welcomes or anything like that. I think we've done that the last couple of times and we still haven't got the win yet. So I think people are blaming. We're finding things to blame for continuously not being able to beat you. So I don't know if that's going to be happening this time, but, look, I think the atmosphere is going to be pretty electric. I think there's a lot of expectation, amongst, the blue side of the stadium. So I think it's certainly going to be lively. It's certainly going to be, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I would have to confess, outside of when we play, I don't really follow Ipswich live too often. Don't watch too often playing, but I have seen clips, obviously, and of other fans winding you up about Norwich.
Mm-hmm.
Like, generally, we seem to sing about Ipswich quite a lot. Do your fans sing about Norwich quite a lot, even when we're not playing each other?
I think it's sometimes a go-to every now and then. And last weekend there was definitely a fair few songs about Norwich, potentially with the derby coming up.
It sort of ramps up, doesn't it? About 4 weeks before the derby, it kind of ramps up. I mean, there's always some every single game, even when we didn't play for 3-4 years when we were in League One. There's still a Norwich chant every single match. But yeah, that 3 or 4 weeks before a derby, it kind of just goes up a little bit, doesn't it?
Bit of practice being put in. Yeah.
I mean, we can't sing in tune anyway between the stands, so we need the practice.
And a fixture that didn't need any more spice added to it, but obviously the departure of Marcelino Nunes, from Norwich to Ipswich only a few weeks ago has probably added some additional spice to the fixture. And as Cillian says, I don't tend to follow Ipswich. I liked to look at the results last season and watch you getting thumped every week, and I'm sure you did exactly the same when we were getting thumped every week in the Premier League. But what I think I've seen is Nunes getting 15 or 20 minutes at the end of each game, and not really featuring too much. I think it'll be spicy. Do you think he'll get protected on Sunday and brought on as a sub again? I know the Norwich players will probably be going in hard on him when he does come on the pitch, but do you think there'll be an element of protection wrapped around him on Sunday because of the derby, or do you think that might be reason that Kieran McKenna starts him to add that extra spice to the fixture?
I think not necessarily because of the derby, but I think just because of the way that this week has been laid out with a Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday. I think he'll probably start. We're recording this on a Monday. I think he'll probably start on Tuesday night, which means that Jens Kjust will probably come back in on Saturday. I think it would be easy and kind of nice to play up to the whole dramatics and give him a start from the start. But I think these games can be kind of scrappy and virile enough as it is without him on the pitch. And I think maybe if he comes on as a sub, hopefully when we're 3-0 up, that reduces that a little bit.
I tend to agree. I think the snippets we've seen of him, actually, I think he looks like a terrific sign. And I think the way that he drops back in between the two centre halves, and we've got so many good attacking players, just someone to be able to release the ball. So I think he's going to be brilliant for us. But the form of Jens Kjust and Matasiwa in the middle, he's not really had the opportunity to start. But yeah, like Adam says, the 3-game week with Jens Kjust playing on Saturday, I think he'll get his first start tomorrow night.
I think he's a really useful player, right? I think he's got elements of world-class touches about him. For me, I think he disappeared too often in too many games. You could often be 30 or 40 minutes into a match before you realise he's even playing. He used to disappear and become invisible. I think the gap for me personally was around his consistency. Like I say, a fantastic player, creative spark, but he would often go missing for large chunks of a game, and some games you wouldn't even realise he was playing. And I think that's, for me personally, that was my only watch out with Nunes. But yeah, he's a fantastic player when he's on.
Do you think that could be down to down to sort of like the management or any other structure around?
Yeah, probably
that you guys have had.
We had under Hofstadter, we had a very strict regime of this is how we're going to play, whether it worked or not. There was no plan B. I'm not sure he necessarily suited that style too much. Before that, under Wagner and Dean Smith, like I say, he had a little bit more creative license. But yeah, it may well be. But let's see how that goes. Personally, I'm hoping that Liam Gibbs starts on Sunday because, again, I think that'll just add that little bit of extra bite to the fixture. So, for sure.
Just what are your thoughts? Do you think? Is it a stupid question? Is he going to get a nice round of applause when his name gets read out from the away end?
Well, an own goal, maybe.
Oh, good. Yeah.
need that extra spice has probably got that extra spice. So.
Absolutely.
One of the questions I have is because obviously the fans know what this is about, and there's no need to get any fan up for it. We'll all be up for it, both sides. But I wonder about the players. Like Núñez is one of the few players on the Ipswich side who's actually played in a derby. We don't have too many on the Norwich side. Like, do you think that's going to make a difference to the game?
Yeah, I think particularly as we've lost a couple of our own, Luke Wolfenden moved on. Harry Clark is still around, but out injured. I'm sure he'll be at the game and letting everyone know what it's about. But yeah, I think having Núñez there, and he knows the derby very well, right? He scored against us in the last time we played.
I think we've only got two players. Sorry, Adam. I think we've only got two players that have actually played in the derby who are likely to be playing. Leif Davis and George Hurst. I think they're the only two, aren't they? And Núñez, but for the other team, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think we've only got three who've actually played. Now, I know we've got Liam Gibbs and Callum Fisher. I think they were on the bench the last time. I don't think either of them came on. But Sargent, obviously, and Stacey and McLean are probably three. So it'll be interesting to see, because I think the last time we were there, we had quite a few academy players who come through the academy, and I think if you've grown up in a club like that, you tend to learn about the history and the rivalry.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
So one of my favourite subjects, although working hard to get a bit of weight off at the moment, it's a 12 o'clock kick-off. We're normally well shepherded from the train station to the pub and to the ground. There's not a lot of places to get food, and from what I remember, the food in the away concourse at Portman Road is pretty dire. Certainly not Delia's pies, although we've got Willie's pies this year. Yeah. They're not great either. Where is a good place for a Norwich fan to grab a little bit of breakfast before the game? Because there's likely to be some liquid refreshments. Where's a place to get a bit of food before kick-off?
I think that depends on where you're allowed to get to be honest with you. I think if there's any Norwich fans who are maybe driving down and then they're not going to turn up at the train station and kind of not been allowed to go anywhere else, then I think where Adam says, where Adam usually goes, down on the marina. You got Isaac's on the quay, Salthouse. There's some really nice places along the marina where all the boats and everything are. So that's a real nice spot in the town if you were looking to go and get something to eat. Quite big and spacious places, particularly Isaac. So, but that's if you make your own way there and not via the train, I would say.
And Adam, I know you said that you were a drive-in tractor boy. I think you said you parked at the marina, but where's the best place for away fans to park for the game, other than the train station, I guess, which is probably the most obvious place?
Yeah, I usually go down by, it's called Athena Hall. It's where the uni campus is, although that stitched me up last weekend because they are all moving into halls and the car park was absolutely rammed. But there are another few kind of smaller ones around that area as well. It's about a 15-20 minute walk in from there. So yeah, that's probably where I'd go.
Yeah, that's all Cardinal Park, which I think is usually quite a spacious one, isn't it? Which is where the cinema and stuff is. And is that all right for away fans in terms of the segregation that's likely to be in place? I know we touched upon it a minute ago. It normally stops at the first crossroads, right, and then it's just carnage. Yeah. But is that somewhere that away fans can get to and from before and after the game, or is that the wrong side of? No, it's still the right. You haven't got to go through to the other side of the stadium, so it's all kind of like the right side. So where Portman Road main car park is opposite the away end, it's kind of like the other side of that, so you just keep going that way. So it's sort of like, it's not quite in the direction of the train station, but you're still the right side of things. You haven't got to walk through the whole stadium to get there, So
I travelled. I'm flying into Stansted on Sunday morning, but I'm just doing a day trip this time. But for people who are travelling further and they wanted to stay in Ipswich, is there anywhere you'd recommend for people to stay?
If you want to go fancy, the Salt House is where we put up all of our players before they sign. Then there's a new travel lodge, I think it is, that they've built right by the stadium. I've stayed there a couple of times when the parents' house hasn't been available, or I wanted to be closer to the ground or have a drink and not drive. So there's one there, and then there's a Premier Inn and another travel lodge not too far away. I quite like the Novotel, which is similar sort of prices to them, but actually a better hotel, I think. I'm not sure what the availability is going to be like now, though, considering we're less than a week out.
All quite close to the stadium, though, aren't they? They're all sort of town centre, so yeah.
Let's move on to as I guess we start to wrap the pod now, but let's get on to the result on Sunday. So it's been 16 years. I'm sure we'll be belting that out from the away end, at least for the first 10 minutes, because our current form, we might not be able to still be singing it at full time, right? If we're honest about it. So it's been a long time overdue, I would suggest, with the football gods. But what are your predictions, George and Adam, for the result on Sunday?
I'm pretty bullish, to be honest with you. I generally think we're going to be getting Alex Matthew 5-0 vibes on Sunday. I do, honestly, and I've never been that confident before, and I'm sure this will get clipped when you tuck us up 1-0. But I'm ever so confident, and I think, I kind of look at the, we're slowly going up in gears as each game goes on. Our talent is kind of getting blooded in. And, I know you've managed to sort of pick up some, on paper, some good away points, which is probably your saving grace. But I think you've conceded, 50 shots in the last 2 away games, and you've managed to get a point in each of those away games. You can't defy gravity forever. So I think we've kind of, with the firepower that we've got, I think if we get an early goal, then I think it could be a bit of a humbling for Norwich. If we don't get that early goal, however, then the expectation that is, people like myself have got, it can make the stadium quite nervy, and then funny things can happen in a derby, can't they? So I don't know what you think, Adam. Are you as confident as me, or?
I'm less confident just because of the nature and everything that goes around the derby. I was so confident last year, actually, for the 2-2. Less confident on the away games, but I was confident for the home game, and I think we played really well in the 2-2 draw, and we're unlucky not to win that one. So yeah, our home form has been better than our away form in terms of how well we've played. But I just think in the derby anything can happen. We're also still quite loose at the back. There's a mistake in people. I don't think we're coming away with a clean sheet. I think if we are firing, which we have been, I think sneaking a win. I'd take sneaking a win. I'd take a 2-1.
I'll still take that.
Yeah.
So I'll still take it. I'm backpedaling now, but no, I am. I am supremely confident. So yeah,
it'll be hard to come back from it if you don't win. To be honest, be questioning that. What would you ever have to do? Personally, I'd be going for a draw. It would be an optimistic draw based on our away form.
If we could escape with the draw on Sunday, Cillian, I'd be absolutely delighted. The way our season started, I'm not in the manning out camp. I know there was a little bit of noise around that anyway. And on Saturday, new manager, he's got a proven ability to improve the teams that he's been with. He's got 10 or 11 new players. I know he comes out with the same rhetoric every interview that he does, but I'm firmly behind giving him time. Hopefully, this is the fixture on Sunday that allows it to kick in. Obviously, we've got the West Brom game. That I'm unfortunately I've got to miss that one for work commitments. We've got the West Brom game between now and then at home. That's where our nerves seem to settle in. I think if we get a good result at home on Wednesday, that might just be, it might be the right time for that to click. But West Brom are a difficult side, as we all know.
I think it's a very difficult one, isn't it? Because as soon as you kind of get into this week, both clubs are the same. All the noises on the derby. We've both got 2 important games before then. But really, when you're watching that, it's sort of like, if you see Sargent go down with an injury or something like, oh God, please get back up. And we'll have 1 or 2 players the same, where you just, oh no, not before Sunday. So, just want to get through it with no injuries.
Yeah, one of the bugbears for me is seeing an Irish player play against Norwich, because as lucky as we are as a nation, I just saw Sammy Schmoddix or Darrow O'Shea.
We've got plenty.
There's a few.
Just before we wrap up, Adam, do you want to give us a quick plug for Blue Monday? Tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so Blue Monday, Ipswich Town's biggest podcast. They've been running for 12, 13 years now, almost daily content. I joined at the start of the season to provide top-tier subscription content on data and analytics, a kind of more post-match analysis view of the game in that sense. And then there's pre-match shows. Benjamin Bloom will, I'm sure, his calendar will be absolutely rammed with Norwich previews this week, and he'll be doing one on Blue Monday as well. And yeah, there's just content coming out of your ears.
massively. But listen, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Just so you know, myself and Nick are both aiming to have a number one rock album for Christmas. And every week we release a single for our away matches. And this week we're going to play you out with our single, No Surrender at Portman Road. So thanks for joining and watching.
Very good. Love it.
Cheers, gents.
No surrender at Portman Road. From Dublin skies to the A4 theme, flying Canaries chasing the dream. From old winkle wheels to Suffolk ground, driving Canaries rolling loud. Green and yellow hearts of flame, rivalries more than just a game. No surrender at Portman Road. Canaries stand tall, fierce and bold. Through enemy blue, our colors show. No surrender, let the whole world know. The Derby fire, it burns so bright. We own the day, we own the night. Voices roar, the banners wave. Norwich forever, the brave of the brave. Green and yellow hearts of flame, rivalries more than just a game. No surrender at Portman Road. Canaries stand tall, fierce and bold. Through enemy blue, our colors show. No surrender, let the whole world know. Yellow, green, we'll never back down to the team in blue. Yellow, green, city till we die, we're coming through. Final render at Portman Road. Canaries fly high, fierce and bold. We'll sing it loud. Let Ipswich know. No surrender. Canaries own the show. No surrender at Portman Road. Canaries fly high, fierce and bold. We'll sing it loud. Let Ipswich know. No surrender. Canaries own the show. Canaries own the show.
That's all for this episode of Beyond the Barclay. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow, leave a review and share it with fellow Norwich City fans. We'll be back soon with more insight and discussion from around Carrow Road. Until then, on the ball, City.